Well, I agree on the Ndombele point. I think it's also really nice to just see the arc kind of shift back to him being important again, because it kind of was rocky at first with Mourinho
Yeah.
and Ndombele, and so he's been integrated really well and he's looked great. I also think on that pass that he gave to Reguilon, I do think Reguilon should have cut it back, but he does have a case to shoot. But I think if you're going to shoot from there, that's a position where you have to hit one of the posts at least. Like, you can't go down the middle to straight to the keeper. So if you're going far post, you really, really have to make sure you hit it far post, because those ones from that angle are tough to get right. Because there's that, if you're a left back, right? So if you ever get in that shooting position, you might know. For me, I was the inverted left winger. So if you're in that position, you have to really arc it so that it curls right to the far post the way Vinicius
Hmm.
does. But if you're a left footer and you're going and you're shooting that, it's a different ball game. You can also go near post, which is an even more difficult thing to do from that position. But I just think he went down the middle, which
Yeah.
obviously, like, that's ideal for the keeper, right? So um,
Yeah.
you mentioned Mourinho's formation. I think what something that interested me in this game was that Wolves had a similar lineup. So, like, to me, the duel was on that side, which was what was interesting to me, was Reguilon and Davies against Adama Traore and Nelson Semedo. And I think Reguilon had kind of a difficult game because the wings were so packed. And I thought he did fine defensively, but I also thought he got burned by Traore
Hmm.
on a couple of occasions. And I don't think there were situations where it's like Adama just runs past him. It's just kind of like, it was a tight space and Reguilon should have done better. And I do think that pressure and that constant suffocation of space on that flank made it difficult for him. I also thought Semedo played pretty well too. And I've always been a Semedo, I wouldn't say fan, but I always thought he was better than what people make him out to be. And I thought he played well in this game too. But um, it was interesting to see him in that role. Like, oftentimes he would also be in the middle. Like, he basically. So to me, my read on this formation and where Reguilon fit in, it was that Davies is the wide man in a 3-5-2 defensively, and Reguilon is the interior. But then offensively, he goes out wide, and so I thought he was okay. I don't think this was one of his better games. I think this was a tough game for him overall because of the way also Wolves lined up.
Yeah, and after Tottenham scored too, like I felt like Tottenham just kind of we know we've gotten used to this bunkered in, tried to soak up the pressure and didn't really play as much. So it's hard for Reguilon to um, be supportive in that attacking role. And you're right on the Traore Semedo tandem. I think of that one play where Traore just put his head down, dribbled three guys, and Reguilon kind of stuck his foot out to try and make the tackle and completely missed. So there were a couple moments like that, and I mean, just a note on Wolves too. This is probably the first time I've watched a full game of theirs, and they
Same.
got some nice players, some really nice players. Pondense, I think his name is, and what was the other one? Pedro Neto, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Those were two really fun players. Quick, really dynamic, skillful, direct. Like I really loved it was fun. It was fun to watch them.
I didn't even think about this until right this second that you mentioned that. But obviously, given Raul Jimenez's injury and stuff, the Luka Jovic to Wolves rumors have started. Um,
Oh yeah.
what do you think of his fit in a team like this?
I was thinking about. I mean, he's kind of a similar player to Raul Jimenez, and so if he's out injured for an extended period of time, I think they said on the broadcast that he fractured his skull or something. So I don't
Yeah,
know how long he'll be out, but
for a while.
it would
I think
be
he's
it
gonna
would be
miss the whole
really
season.
interesting. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Then yeah, then that I mean that kind of makes sense because you would imagine Luka Jovic would just come in, start, um, and immediately get minutes, which is what he needs. Um, it'd be interesting to see, like, I guess one of the athletic reporters who covers Wolves specifically said that Real Madrid made an obligation to buy for 55 million, which Wolves would not accept. They just want a 6 month loan to cover the loss of Raul Jimenez. So we'll see. We'll see what it happens. I mean, if Real Madrid believe, and this is what some Spanish reports are saying, believe that he is recoverable, then I don't see why a 6 month loan where he plays consistently wouldn't be a problem.
If he's playing consistently in the Premier League, I would love to see that. I really would.
Yeah.
Especially because if the whole thing is to just buy themselves some time until Jimenez recovers, and it seems like a win-win. You mentioned Tottenham bunkering after they scored and stuff. I think that leads to another interesting discussion, in that we were kind of wondering if this would eventually regress to the mean with Tottenham and they would cool down. And I was hoping they wouldn't, and I was happy that they were playing so well. I also knew that, at some point, Duquesne and Son just stop. They don't stop, but their numbers start to normalize a bit in terms of expected goals and meeting them and exceeding them. And Kane's assist numbers inflated because of Son's inflated XG finishing. So since Sky Sports put this out, since November, the international break, Tottenham's expected goals are the second lowest in the league, barely a hair above West Brom. And so I think you're starting to see that kind of, maybe normalizing is a strong word, because I don't think they'll be that bad offensively either for the rest of the season. But, they certainly have cooled offensively, and their counterattacks haven't been as devastating the last few games. So I wonder kind of like, what is this team's real face like by the springtime?